Okay everybody, Tectiller here again with the 26th episode of the Heroes Appendix video series. Its purpose is to help newer and veteran players alike to fully understand the ins and outs of all the characters in Hero Wars Mobile. In today's video, we are reviewing the first place winner of the most recent vote amongst my patrons, Jorgen, who is probably the most renowned and feared supports in the game. He is the most devastating control unit currently in the game, boasting a monster health pool which is greater than half of the tanks, and while he doesn't restrict your ability to attack or move, he can be one of the greatest burdens to find in your opponent's team. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing his skills, how they visually appear, and their uses both practically and strategically, when to use Jorgen, when not to, his roles in the team, skin priority order, artifact priority order, and glyph priority order. First up is Jorgen's activatable skill, Torment of Powerlessness, which is commonly referred to as his ultimate, because this is the ability he can use once his yellow energy gauge is filled during battle. Jorgen grows larger in size, holds his frothing bowl into the air, and a specter will rise out of it and appear above the nearest enemy unit, and casting a curse on all enemies near that targeted unit. Depending on how close that unit is standing to the rest of the team can depend how many group members will be afflicted. This locks enemies from gaining energy for 9 seconds. This skill has a 60% magic attack ratio plus 12,000, which is pretty high considering he has a magic attack artifact buff, and it affects almost the entire enemy team. An interesting note with this skill is if you ever wanted to get a visual for energy gain, pay attention while the skill is active. Any energy blocked by Jorgen will show up on the enemy team, and due to a current graphical bug, the numbers aren't crossed out like they're supposed to be, so you can see very clearly how much energy gain is being restricted by Jorgen's ult. An additional note to make is, even though this skill restricts the gain of energy, if your hero is brought to their energy limit from the damage dealt by this skill, then they will still be able to use their ultimate if they're already at 100% energy. Jorgen's second skill is called Cycle of Energies. Jorgen will raise both of his hands and slam them down in a menacing motion, and a shield surrounded with skulls will circle around the lowest health ally based on percent health and not raw number. While the shield persists, it will protect the unit from all sources of damage, and the unit will gain energy twice as fast as normal. The shield will remain until its health is depleted. This skill has a 70% magic attack ratio plus 15,000, so it can block up to 38,906 per application, assuming there are no buffs active. This skill can be used once every 14 seconds, and bonus energy gained from this skill triggers Satori's Looming Justice skill. Another thing to keep in mind is since this shield blocks all types of damage, it receives damage as if it were pure damage, so it does not factor in your unit's mitigation. Jorgen's third skill is called Leper. Jorgen will motion towards the enemy team with his hand, holding the balloon, and thin red lines will spiral outward from Jorgen's hand and wrap around the entire enemy team and continue to spiral to the enemy team's rear unit. This skill will redirect any physical damage taken to the rearmost ally. The skills themselves will still affect their intended heroes, however, the damage will be redirected to the rear unit and check against the armor of the selected hero. The skill can be used once every 20 seconds. A note with this skill is it is considered to be a curse and can be blocked by Sebastian's Ballad of Tenacity. Another note with this skill is if damage from Kark's third skill, triggered by the enemies thrown into the air, is redirected to the back unit, since the rear unit was not also thrown into the air, while they did receive full damage from the ability, it will not activate Kark's Violet ability's survival factor, so he will not gain any health from the damage dealt, because the prerequisite for that is that the enemies thrown into the air have to be the same enemies that were damaged. Jorgen's fourth ability is called Tainted Wounds. With every basic attack, Jorgen steals 10% of the affected enemy's energy. This skill removes it from the target enemy and adds it to Jorgen's energy stockpile. Bonus energy gained from this skill triggers Satori's Looming Justice. Let's take a deeper look now and see when you should be using Jorgen. The number one time is partnered with Faceless. They're a dominating meta combination, and without any direct synergy, complement each other almost perfectly. The second time to consider using him is if the enemy team has any heroes who are extremely energy dependent, for example the twins, Orion, and Ju. Many heroes are energy dependent, so this makes Jorgen a great asset in almost any situation. Another time is if your team deals very low frontline damage. This can ensure that the enemy tank never gets a chance to use their ultimate. And then the last time is if you need to bypass a strong enemy frontline like Ziri, his leper skill can allow your physical damage dealers to kill the enemy team from back to front. And another time to consider using Jorgen is if the enemy team has Orion on it. Jorgen, having such a high health pool, will basically become a magnet for Orion's missiles. And he'll energy lock Orion, and Orion is virtually useless without his ultimate ability. So this will help keep Orion out of the fight pretty much half the time at least. So he's a great counter unit to Orion. Now we'll take a look at when you should be avoiding Jorgen in your team. The main time and only real reason to avoid using him is if the enemy team has Satori on it. There are a number of situations where you can actually permanently energy lock Satori, however, this isn't always the case. And once your Jorgen is maxed out, it's much easier to survive against Satori, but there are usually better options to deal with him. There's really no other reason to avoid using Jorgen. However, he's not as effective against teams who don't rely on their ultimates, such as Daredevil or Kira Blender. He's an absolute monster, and one of the few units who can be considered perfect in any team. Now we'll discuss his roles in the team. Jorgen's main role is support and control, and in some defensive situations, he can be a secondary tank. At max, Jorgen boasts a whopping 660,000 health, 27,750 magic defense, and 14,496 armor. Some enemies may find it difficult to get through your tank, damage dealers, and Jorgen within the allotted time limit, so despite a lot of sources online saying not to level Jorgen beyond a certain point, there's not much merit to keeping him low unless you just don't have the resources available to level him. He's a domineering force on the battlefield, and he's one of those units that everyone should build without exception. In Guild War defenses, you will find Jorgen being one of the scariest units to be left alive because he can prevent you from gaining energy for 9 seconds. Luckily, you can stick him almost anywhere for great results, so play around with him and see where you like him best. I bet you find it hard to put him down once you pick him up. In this segment, we'll be discussing his skins. The top priority is his Winter skin, which offers 10,650 magic attack. This skin is Jorgen's single largest boost to his magic attack and gives him almost a third of his total magic attack. The second in priority is his Devil skin, which offers 10,650 magic defense, and is up next because his highest defense is magic defense, and being a strength-based hero, he naturally gets a lot of health, so boosting his mitigation, especially since he's often partnered with Faceless and healers, it makes him harder to kill as soon as possible. The third in priority is his Champion skin, which offers him 106,870 health, and helps keep him alive and reach those monster health levels. The last in priority is his Default skin, which offers him 1,365 physical attack and 54,600 health, as well as some critical hit resistance, which contributes the least to his overall effectiveness as a unit. Next, we'll discuss artifact priority, which means which of the artifacts is the most important to level up first. First up is Shavarak's Blood, which grants him up to 32,040 magic attack to the entire team for 9 seconds. The artifact weapon. The effect, plainly put, is amazing. Second up is the artifact book, which will grant him 8,010 armor and 8,010 magic defense. This boasts the largest amount of survivability for him, granting him both armor and magic defense to truly mitigate a lot of the incoming damage he will receive, helping him reach his virtually unkillable levels. And last but not least in priority is his artifact ring, which grants him up to 159,600 health and 3,990 physical attack, which offers a great deal of health, but is really just a drop in the bucket for this behemoth. In our final segment, we will now be discussing glyph stat priority. So what that means is of all the stats your hero can get, which one is the most important for you to upgrade first to yield the best results? First glyph up is magic attack, which grants him 3,360 magic attack, which will give him a needed boost early on for his skills. The second glyph to choose is magic defense, which grants 3,360 magic defense, and given his team position, magic damage is the type he will be suffering from the most of the time, and will also help him get incredibly high early on, as a magic defense is high in priority from all sources for him. Third in priority is armor, totaling 3,360 armor, which is going to help him reach his peak armor, and that is necessary for his longevity. The fourth glyph to choose is his health, which grants 30,800 health, and is the next biggest contributor to his survivability. And the fifth and final glyph is strength, which grants 560 physical attack and 22,400 health. And just like his strength ring, it's just a drop in the bucket for this absolute monstrosity. Okay everybody, hopefully you found this video informative. If you do, please like, follow, and subscribe to my YouTube channel called Server 2 Productions. Another thing to consider is recommending my content to your friends as well if you know they yearn for knowledge of the game. Since these videos are private, word of mouth is how they will get spread. Also, for a large and active Hero Wars mobile community, join my Facebook group called Hero Wars Mobile Community, the GOAT. The link will be in the video description. Thanks for watching.